And we're back, and we're moving into our first conversation for this morning. As we said, for his first live interview post his official election as the leader of the United Democratic Party and also the leader of the opposition, we're joined by Honorable Shyne Barrow. Good morning.
Pleasant good morning, Marlene. Pleasant good morning, Brother Courtney.
All right, so let me just ask you, you've had a day for this to sink in. What's the feeling like today? You said there's no exhaustion on your end.
No. I am determined to rebuild the United Democratic Party along with the rest of my colleagues and to form the next government. So there were no illusions as to the heavy lifting and the arduous task ahead. And so mentally, I have been preparing for this. And so it's work.
Yeah. All right.
And what do you attribute Sunday's success to?
People believed in the vision. People believed in the person that was transmitting that vision. So I really think it boiled down to, you had two great candidates, two formidable political powerhouses, both coming from maybe different angles, and my angle prevailed.
All right. Let's talk a bit about your ascent to the leader of the United Democratic Party. When you put yourself forward as the candidate for Mesopotamia, was this always a part of the plan?
Absolutely not. I thought maybe in 2030 or maybe 2035. There was really no timeline, but certainly I had no plan or no ambition beyond just being the best representative in the House for Mesopotamia and serving Mesopotamia and transforming Mesopotamia and contributing to the country. But as life happens, and you examine what is happening, then you have to answer the call of destiny, the call of circumstances, and that is what happened.
There were some strategic moves, though. When you look at the establishment of the Caucus for Change, when you look at the move towards the recall for Patrick Faber, if these incidents hadn't had happened, do you think you'd still be here today?
When you look at life, if Michael Jordan didn't hit the last shot versus the Utah Jazz, he wouldn't have won a championship. If the Baymen, if the Flowers Bank crowd did not come down to Belize City and vote to stay rather than run away, would we have Belize? So life is, it's a great lesson to learn that life is really about making the right choices at the right time, or you can miss life. So I'm present, and I believe this is a great lesson for young people, for all people, that every day is your day. Every moment is your moment. It's really up to you to define your life as it happens, but you have to be ready for it to happen. So I get up 5 o'clock every morning for the last 24 years. I have a routine that I've been following for the last 24 years to prepare me for life as it happens. So there have been downs in my life, there have been disappointments and devastations, but I have zero regrets because I've always been present. It doesn't always go the way you want it to go, but for me, the reason that I have been able to have success is because I've been present. So I've always been able to give my all because life has never really caught me off guard.
How confident were you going into the convention on Sunday?
I was confident, but I was cautious because, politics is brutal, and people will promise you. It goes both ways. Politicians and the people that elect them, they have very many similarities, to be polite. So people can change their minds,
yes,
to be nice. So there's always a possibility, at the last moment that, you know, people could have a change of heart and say, you know what, I go in the other way. So I always considered myself the underdog. I always considered myself behind. And I am thankful that I had people around me that are very conservative. And, you know, quietly, I thought I would win by 100. I thought it would be a commanding landslide based on what people were telling me, not based on, you know, my own premonition of, you know, self-praise, just based on the numbers. If I speak to, you know, 500 people and 350 of those people promise me, yes, Brother Shyne, I'm going to vote for you. When I tell someone I'm going to do something, I do it. So I look at people the way I treat people. So I don't expect that anyone would tell me they would vote for me and that wouldn't happen. So based on the response and the interaction that I was having throughout the country, I was convinced that those 350 people that promised me they would vote for me would indeed do that on election day.
But beyond the delegates, though, you said you felt you were going in as an underdog. That's
No, well, that was my mindset.
because you very openly spoke of the support of 21 area representatives.
Yes.
And the delegates are chosen, hand-selected
Yes.
by area representatives.
Yes, but we have seen that vision has not always panned out. That the delegates do what the constituency leaders ask them to do, and in a democracy, I don't expect that. I expect that every delegate has a right to choose who they want to vote, despite the constituency leaders supporting me. So my approach was not to focus on the constituency leaders exclusively. My approach was to treat everyone equally. So while I was grateful to have the support of the constituency leaders, I went into the constituencies and met with the delegates themselves to try to convince them as if the constituency leader was not supporting me. And as far as my mindset, despite the constituency leaders supporting me, despite people promising me that they would vote for me, I, as a matter of practice, for the last 20 odd years, as I developed my policy on how I would approach life, always consider myself the underdog. If I'm number one, I consider myself number 100. And I learned this, a book that I read from Michael Eisner. He was the CEO of Disney at the time. I read this book probably in like 1991. I was like 12 years old. I was an avid reader. And he talked about how he succeeded in building, you know, or continuing the legacy of Walt Disney and the Disney Empire. And he said one of the keys to success is no matter how successful you are, never consider yourself that successful. Never consider yourself number one, because if you do so, you have no room to grow. So if I had considered myself the front runner, I would have been disappointed Sunday at 5 o'clock.
Well, you weren't, but I want to come back to just the campaign for a moment. Your slogan was a time for change.
No, that was my colleague, Honorable Pantan. She was
The time is now.
Yes, I was change that you believe in.
Change that you believe in.
Yes.
Here's a question that nags me. If you are talking about change within the United Democratic Party, but you have the majority of the existing area representatives support you, that's not so much a change, that's continuing status quo.
Well, you see, we can't have convenient democracy, right? If you want an autocracy, if you want an authoritarian regime where a party leader or anyone comes in and says, Gavin, you have to go, Marlene, you have to go because the people don't want you. That is not democracy. It's the same as...
But it's politics.
But allow me, it's the same as appointing delegates, choosing delegates. I disagree with that process because it does not reflect democracy. So what needs to happen is that we need to have constituency conventions, and the constituents need to determine who they want to change. That is not my decision to make. The people that are in the party were elected by their constituents, even though they did not win the general elections. They are still duly elected caretakers, and it would be offensive and disrespectful of the democratic process for me to say, oh, well, it is my opinion that you shouldn't be a part of the party because of X, Y, and Z. That is not for me to determine. That is for the people in the constituencies to determine. And once they do that, whether or not you're a part of Caucus for Change, you supported me, or you didn't support me, I will work with you based on what the people in the constituencies say. And I have made that clear. I, as party leader, will not interfere in any convention for anyone. I will stay out of it, in front of the scenes and behind the scenes, because I want the popular candidate. I want the candidate that the people want. And what has happened over the last however many years is exactly what you said. Oh, well, change. So who determines change? The party leader determines change? No, this is not my party. This party belongs to the party faithful. And those in the constituencies, the constituency voters, they will tell me who they want in Toledo East. They will tell me who they want in Belmopan. They will tell me who they want in Orange Walk Central. They will determine who stays and who goes.
But couldn't it be argued that's the exact same tactic that you used to be able to remove the then elected party leader, Patrick Faber, from the House of Representatives as leader of the opposition?
Again, I went through a democratic process. I didn't just say, oh, you need to be removed, and they were removed. We had to go to a vote. So everyone has the right. We went to a vote.
The recall.
Yes.
The recall.
That
vote,
is
but
a
I'm saying
democratic.
removing him as leader of the opposition.
That was a
It was
that,
four
that was a
people.
that was a democratic process, madam. You have to accept the way our constitution is written. The people who are elected in the House, according to the constitution of our country, have a right to vote, whether a 3 or 30. The majority of whatever is there is the majority. So I didn't write the Governor General and say, Her Excellency, this is my wish. There was a majority vote and that was decided.
A majority of 5.
It doesn't matter. It could be a majority of 2, if that's possible.
Let me come back, because I don't want us to dwell on that too long. But on the issue of Honorable Faber, have you had a conversation with him?
I have
Since
been in
his
touch.
latest incident?
Yes, I was in touch with him to offer prayers and best wishes for him and Dr. Arnold, and to ensure him that his contributions to the party under my leadership would always be valued. I have been in touch with him at the passing of his brother, John Faber. I've been in touch with him to wish him happy birthday.
Has he extended congratulations to you?
No, he's not.
Are you surprised by that?
I don't, he just lost his brother. I don't know what he's going through personally. I don't.
Well, you know he supported the other candidate for the leadership.
Yes, and that's fine. That's fine. He didn't come to vote, so I don't know how much support that is.
Well, there were delegates there for Collett. Moving forward.
I had delegates for Collett. No, seriously, I did.
Let me come back to another issue as you talk about change and the constitution of the UDP. You've already said in the media, so we don't have to rehash it, that you do in fact want to shift from the existing delegate system to something more representative. Let's talk about other changes within the
Just to clarify, it's not even shifting. We just have to follow what is currently on the books, and we have not been doing that. We have just been selecting and submitting to Secretariat. These are our delegates, and that should not be the way. If we allow the constituency voters to vote, then you will have true representation, and it doesn't matter if it's 16 or 50 in the first instance. If that doesn't work, then I'm totally open to expanding the delegates list to 50, to 60, whatever the majority wants to do.
So if your position is to adhere to what exists within the UDP constitution, will you follow through on the regularly scheduled leadership conventions?
Well, absolutely.
It could be every 2 years?
Every 2 years, absolutely. I had said on the campaign trail that I welcome a 2-year examination, and and that's why you asked me, am I exhausted? I don't have time to be exhausted. This is all the way to Belmopan. This is to win the next general elections. I'm not here to have a title, to say that, oh, I'm leader of the opposition, I'm leader of the UDP. I am here to transform the country, and the only way I know we can do that is by forming the next government. So that is my ambition, to form the next government, and that's not going to be easy. We're going to have to work arduously. So again, when it comes to the Constitution and how it relates to the leadership conventions, what we need to do is the Constitutional Reform Committee to look at our party constitution and to have a special convention to amend the Constitution, because one of my promises on the campaign trail was to amend the Constitution so that anyone who has a constituency can offer themselves to be party leader or deputy party leader. Because in the instance of Senator Bradley, who I appointed senator, people were concerned that if he had offered himself to be party leader, I would have removed him. I would not have. But in the instances where you have suitable candidates that people may very well want to vote for, the only thing that stands in their way is the fact that they're not in the National Assembly. And I believe that deprives people of the opportunity to exercise their vote and to have a greater selection of suitable candidates. So that is one of the first things I want to do.
So you are most likely going to put yourself forward for a leadership convention within the next 2 years?
Well, when you say put myself forward, I am the leader of the party.
Yeah.
So it's not a matter of me putting myself forward. It is a matter of if anyone wants to challenge my leadership, then they have a right to do that. And I welcome a healthy democracy. And if I do what I'm supposed to do, if I deliver, then I don't think that will happen. If I don't, then people have a right to hold me accountable.
What's your reaction to the party chairman's refusal for the recount on Sunday?
You have to ask him.
No, but what's your reaction?
Decision. I was prepared to accept the recount. He felt otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
He's always on your show. He's always
Honorable
on Zoom.
Explained, and she's already said she's not following through with court action. But she explained that the discrepancies they saw had to do with the number of ballots in boxes versus number of voters.
You know, I was there. I was there. Took the excruciating pain of listening to the ballots being counted and watching, and it was painful. Tracy, Shyne. And every time they're pulling the ballot out, you wait, you hope that Shyne was say. So I went through the entire process, and there were no discrepancies. What happened is one of the scrutineers for my opponent wrote down that I had only won one box by 6, and so that's when they thought they won. But after doing the numbers, we realized that I had won that box by 11, and that was the confusion. But the vice chairman, Alberto August, and the chairman, they made the decision that ballots were counted fairly and squarely. We all had our scrutineers and our counters there, and it's time to move on.
And speaking of moving on, what then is the next step? I mean, first of all, the fact that the vote was close, shows that there was a division, obviously, because there's a leadership convention.
I don't look at it as division, Gavin. I look at it as it shows that the UDP is alive. The UDP had 2 great candidates. If you look at, much has been said about gender equality, and that is a global trend that people want to see, men and women want to see women lead and women taking their rightful place as equal partners in humanity. But there's also a trend for youth to move forward and to lead. and part of the change that you talk about has to do with youth. Has to do with us young leaders stepping up and doing things, because I won't be Prime Minister Barrow. I won't be Prime Minister Dean Barrow. You know, by God's grace, I'll be Prime Minister Shyne Barrow, and I have my vision and the way that I see life, and that informs the policies and the things that I will fight for as a leader of this country.
And that,
so I just say that I look at it as, to me, it was great. And there wasn't much hostility. You know, when Tracy and I have been in touch for parliamentary matters, when she came the morning, we hugged each other. When we would pass each other, we would say hello. It's great that so many people wanted to support her. It's great that so many people wanted to support me. And I think us as two leaders, it is up to us now to bring our people together and focus on forming the next government. We could look at it as a division. I look at it as an opportunity to take two of the vibrant, dominating forces and put them together and go forward.
which I suppose is, I guess, really at the heart of my question, which is what are the steps now that you're going to take to reconcile, I guess, the two different visions that you would have had for the party and move forward to make it, you know, as you say, in a strong opposition?
Well, you know, the Honorable Pantan is the party whip. She is the United Democratic Party whip. She is the regional leader for the eastern part of the country, and I plan to support her leadership roles, and I think that is a part of the reconciliation. And as a leader in the party, she's not just an elected member of the House, she's the party whip. The party whip, I used to be the party whip, and as party whip, you know, it was really me and the party leader. We worked very closely together. That was party leader Faber, and I was tasked with enforcing, you know, the vision of the party and the policies of the party nationally. And so I expect the discharge of those responsibilities from Honorable Pantan, and I welcome that. You know, there will be no attempt on my part to displace her. So with her responsibility to lead as party whip, as Eastern Regional Leader, and my responsibility to lead the entire party together, you know, I see this as a promising beginning on the journey to Belmopan.
Yeah, but what actions are being taken? I understand the concept of working together, but there is a deep divide within the United Democratic Party.
That's what you're saying, Marlene.
The cracks have been showing. We're talking about 2 leadership conventions in 2020, a recall vote, and now another leadership convention. And you can fairly say that parties who suffer mass defeat often have a tumultuous period after. But how do you bring the party back for a united front, at least publicly?
Well, you know, Marlene, you have to listen to what I just said carefully. As the party leader, I could take the position that, you know, I want a new party whip. I could lobby my colleagues to say, I want a new party whip. I want a new Eastern region leader. I could do that. That could be my position. I just said that my position is that I will support the Honorable Pantan to continue to be the party whip, which is a very, very important position. When I held it, I treasured it, I guarded it. I was very, very happy to be party whip because that is a national position that, you know, is right next to the party leader. She's also Eastern Regional Leader. Again, as the party leader, with the political capital that I have, I could try to cash that in and say, well, you know what, I want to go in a different direction. And I'm telling you, I am deliberately not doing that because I want to unify the party, and I don't believe in victimization or being punitive after the democratic process has already been undertaken. So that is a very, very important step. That is not just a photo opportunity and a press conference saying, yes, we are unified, but a very real demonstration of steps to keep us together and make us a strong force together.
So are you then saying that the plan at this point is not to change any of the appointed positions that exist?
No, that is not the plan. It's not a wholesale application. I will look at all the different positions, and my philosophy, my policy is that people have to work. I work extremely hard. I come from a family of extremely hard workers, and I don't believe that we should occupy these positions if we are not prepared to put in that diligent, arduous work. Nothing happens in life without the sweat of thy brow. So for me, that is what will determine, you know, who I think should try to find another way to contribute to the party if the position that they are currently holding.
So you will
they're just
assess
taking up
those who are
space.
in appointed positions
Yes.
for performance?
Yes, yes. But as far as, again, as far as the Honorable Pantan, it is for the delegates, the way it should happen. The way it should happen. It didn't happen that way. She was appointed Eastern Regional Leader, but the way it should happen is she should be elected Eastern Regional Leader by the delegates of the Eastern region. So all the constituencies in Belize City and Belize Rural should vote on who will be the Eastern Regional Leader. And I am saying to you, I am saying to the entire country, she has my support to be Eastern Regional Leader. And that is important, because I believe that she has demonstrated the capacity to hold that position.
Let me shift gears.
One of the other things
slightly.
that I would like to just add when you talk about how I will reconcile, one of the important things when it comes to reconciliation, again, is work. So I am going to go into the constituencies as I promised, right? Starting, try to go before Easter, at least a few constituencies, and have constituency meetings with the chairman of the party, with my PR chair, my membership chair, my policy chair, and discuss the way forward. And I will continue doing that all throughout my tenure. And I believe when you're working, when you're engaging people, even those constituencies that outright said they didn't vote for you. Before the elections, I went to see Minister Aragon, Orange Walk East. He's a Tracy supporter. I didn't go there for his support and his delegate support. I went there to ensure the executive committee that in spite of their support for Tracy, they will have my support as far as rebuilding Orange Walk East and rebuilding the party. And so all I believe I have to do is make good on that, is to continue engaging the executive committees and working with them. We have village councils coming up.
That's right.
Right?
Shortly after municipal
Exactly.
elections,
So-
so
so-
there's very limited time.
So there's no time
Yeah.
to sit around and do nothing. There is much to do, and I believe if you're working,
Yeah.
if you're engaging those people, even the ones that you may think did not vote for you or outright said they didn't vote for you, there will be no time for idleness, for mischief making, only time to get the job done, which is to win.
Let me ask a question. Who's your support team? Who's your mentor? You're a first-time leader, first-time area representative. The budget debate, a part of the commentary was your inexperience showed.
That's the PUP.
Or-
That's the
Yes,
PUP
from the government,
narrative.
PUP.
Of course,
But
that is a compliment.
First time.
Whenever they attack
Let me get to my
me,
question. Can
it's
I?
a compliment.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
And often said that you have to steel yourself and prepare yourself for this role. So who's your
Yeah.
support system? Is it your father who's guiding you?
You know, it is very ironic that, the PUP narrative always seems to be my truth, and it's not. When you listen to the UDPs and you listen to objective people, they thought I was the best in the debate. And that was from last year's debate. And they feel this year's debate I did even better. And I'm talking about some of my harshest critics internally. senior people. So there is no question as to my capacity and my ability to lead this party.
I don't think
And
the question was capacity or
you
ability.
just said
I think
experience.
it was inexperience.
Yes, but experience, I don't need to be experienced in self-enrichment. I don't need to be experienced in corruption.
Let me
I
go
need
back
to
to
be,
the question.
I'd like
Who
to answer.
mentors you? The question was, who is your support
know, but-
system?
but
Who guides you? Is it
Can I-
your father
Can
taking...
I get around to the answer?
Well, we have limited time.
Yes, but the the point that I am making is I have many people that give me advice, and I have demonstrated that I am very, very capable, and I am experienced by life. You know, I have done a lot in life. I have many successes in life because you can have a PhD, but if you have no success to show after you get that piece of paper, it means nothing. And I think I have demonstrated time and time and time again that while some may say I'm a neophyte, I have proven otherwise, and I will continue to prove that because I work hard, I listen, and I'm very fortunate to have people such as the former Prime Minister Barrow to advise, you know, the former party leader, John Saldiva, and the entire caucus for change, who I thank profusely for their support of me. And there are many senior members of the party. Ruben Campos, who is ill right now. He's in Merida getting treatment. He was a former Minister of Sports and Youth from Orange Walk. You know, I have many people. I have many people from the business community that have been around since George Price, from Esquivel to Musa to Barrow, that believe in me and that give me very sound advice. So I have a universe of very wise people that I rely on for advice.
Now, we've discussed, I think, in interviews, and I've said it multiple times on the show, you know, whatever people view of any political party, a strong opposition is important for a democratic process. Now, as the official leader of the party and leader of the opposition, how do you plan to ensure full engagement of representatives at the House? You are aware that at that budget debate, you and Honorable Panton were the most, they stayed the longest. Honorable Pat was there momentarily. Honorable Farber is traveling, and your aunt, Honorable Barrow, has not been at a House meeting.
Yes.
What do you plan to do about it?
You know, again, I had this discussion yesterday. You know, forgive me if sometimes I feel that narratives that are put forth to me are biased and it is a People's United Party narrative. Forgive me. I do believe that that is a People's United Party narrative.
The narrative that a elected representative should show up for work.
I believe, again, if this is your opinion.
Asking you.
This is your opinion?
That's a question.
I'm asking if it's your opinion.
That's a question I'm posing to you. Do you
Okay.
believe she should
Well,
be present at House meetings?
My position is that I believe because the first question you asked me is, you know, what would I do about it?
No, what do you plan to do?
So that's
Yeah.
two questions. So the member from Queen Square was elected by the people of Queen Square. And when the people of Queen Square come to me, or whatever means of communications they have to express any type of dissatisfaction with the fact that the member from Queen Square is not in the House as regularly as you or others may want her to be, then I will take immediate action to address that. But I have said before that everyone serves their constituency in different ways. And I am all about serving the constituency in the most effective way for that person. Now, until the rules change in the House, standing orders, and there is a mandatory requirement, the senior member from Queen Square, she's a senior member of the party, will have to deal with the matter. My intervention will come when the people that elected the member for Queen Square start to complain. Until then, I will consider it as political banter, and it is not my place. You need to call the member from Queen Square and interview her and ask her what she plans to do. My position as leader of the opposition and leader of the party is that representatives have to be given the latitude to exercise their discretion as to how they feel they are best serving their constituents. And constituents, if they have a problem, let their voices be heard, and I will address it. If constituents complain and say, listen, this is what we want, I will address it at
What
that
Let me
point.
just-
so what about appearances, though? I mean,
Yeah.
which is a huge part of politics. I mean, not only for the in a situation like that, not only for the constituents, but also the appearance of the United Democratic Party as a strong, let's say, unified party or in opposition.
I'm much more concerned with the 10,000 houses that were promised for Belizean people and is not reflected in this current budget. I'm much more concerned with the 10% that was taken away from public servants when there was a 20% increase in salary for teachers that was promised. I'm much more concerned with the tens of thousands of jobs that were promised as part of public debt reduction, that the way that the PUP would reduce the debt was to transfer the public officers out of public sector to private sector jobs. That is not happening. I'm much more concerned with the high
Before
gas
you
prices
deflect
and
from it, though,
inflation.
let me get one other question in on this issue. Many will watch and speculate that because of the familial connection, that's why perhaps you are more understanding of or accepting of the absenteeism that has been displayed.
You know, Marlene, I take that as I don't know if necessarily as an insult. You know, it's like me saying because your former CEO is now CEO in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, that Channel 5 is biased and Channel 5 is a PUP vehicle. I wouldn't do that, because that is high speculation and that could offend someone, and you're reaching.
Well, we
Right?
are a public company and there's proof. I'm asking
No,
you.
I'm just saying, but your former
that-
CEO is currently, the former CEO of Channel 5 is currently the CEO of Foreign Affairs. She used to work for Prime Minister Musa. So one can argue, whenever I come on the show, UDPs argue with me, where you going for a PUP show for? And I said, no man, we have to,
Yes,
that
you're
is a
better
media,
suited-
that is a media
It is an
conglomerate, and we
independent
need to,
media house,
exactly.
but
But you can make
let
the
me-
argument that
let
you
me-
have biases, but no, that is not, it's not so.
Let me come back
It's
to
not
it.
so. I don't deal with
Because
familial.
I've worked in this
I don't
industry
deal with
long
familial-
enough
I don't
that
deal with
this type of
familial
deflection is
decisions.
very common. The
Yeah.
question
Now
is
you're
for
accusing me
people-
of deflection.
The question that people will have.
Now you're accusing
is,
me of deflection.
Will Shyne Barrow take the same position if, for example, Honorable Faber no longer shows up?
He has
for
not.
House
He has not
meetings?
been showing
He's
up for
only
quite some
missed
time.
2,
No, it's
three.
more than two, exactly. three,
Yes.
Yeah.
but
And
will
I have
you
not-
have that
I have
same
not blasted-
position,
I have
or
not
is
blasted
this
him.
position simply because of the familial relation?
I am offended that you would accuse me of
I don't
any
accuse
type
you.
of.
I ask the questions that people will
Who
ask.
are the people? The PUP, the CEO of Foreign Affairs. Who are the people? I don't know, Marlene, but no, I will not have any type of bias when it comes to members of the House. My position applies across the board.
So let's come back to the moving forward for the party. You talk of the need for a strong opposition. You talk of representation. What's the plan moving forward from here?
The plan is to get into the constituencies and work. Certainly, village councils are important, and getting everyone galvanized, mobilized, well-resourced is my first order of business. So the village councils will be a litmus test for where we are the people that are complaining about inflation, are the people that are complaining about gas paying and all of the promises that have not been delivered under the PUP government. Are those people going to demonstrate that dissatisfaction, or is that just hyperbole? And you know, I will put my village council slates in the best position to test that, whereas in the municipal elections we had no financing, no funding, and so you really couldn't tell if people were having buyer's remorse. In this village council, I will make sure that my people are well resourced so that we can have a true litmus test as to the dissatisfaction of the PUP government. So that's the first order of business.
Well, I wanna ask one other thing, because I see we're quickly running out of time. But you know, speaking of the way forward and change, which your election represents a change for the UDP at least. When you speak about a lot of national issues, and when these issues are discussed and when they are in the House, when you criticize the government, one of the first responses that people often say is that, well, UDP was in government for so long, a lot of these problems didn't just start overnight. So how do you now plan to address these issues now that you're in a leadership position, and take the UDP, you know, present the UDP then as a viable option for people when they may say, well, no, you don't have any credibility because a lot of these problems started or were exacerbated under you?
Well, you know, Gavin, we have work to do to rebuild the trust and confidence of the Belizean people. We have tremendous work to do as far as regaining our credibility. I will not try to deceive you and pretend as if, you know, our voice of credibility is solid. I believe that comes with the work in the constituency. And once we are engaging the people in the constituencies, that trust will return. And so when you're speaking in the House of Representatives, you know, in the budget debate, I could have went through how the super bond was created, all of the terrible things that happened under the Musa administration that burdened the Barrow administration. But I believe that is exercise in futility. And I believe when the present government excuses its poor performance or inability to deliver based on the Barrow administration, people don't like it. People don't want to hear about that. You know, people want to hear about solutions to the problems that they are having. So my responsibility is to go into the House every day, is to go into the constituencies every day and to examine the performance of the government, and where they are not performing at the level that they promised, we have to point that out. And people need to be reminded of what was promised and what is being given. People need to, in that hemisphere, there are also evolving problems that come that may not have been anticipated, and the government's response to that. That is the voice that we have as the opposition. I don't attack people personally in the House. I don't need to attack and bring back what happened under the Musa administration and under the Barrow administration. This is the Briceño administration, and people want solutions now. And the Minister of Police used to always say, if you can't do the job, resign. And so people don't want to hear excuses. People do want voices of the opposition to point out what may not be going right. And I pointed out never to eviscerate the government, never to belittle them or to be demeaning, but I pointed out for solutions. When I talked about high gas prices, the Prime Minister said that, okay, he was going to have a meeting with you know, all of the stakeholders to have a solution. If we go in there and don't say anything and just bow and recite, then the government will do whatever they want.
Your role
exactly.
As opposition.
Exactly. So we have to rebuild our credibility. But until that happens, we have to continue speaking on the matters that people are dealing with in society.
All right. Well, we are smack out of time, as we said. This won't be the last conversation we have with you. We appreciate you coming in this morning.
Yes.
All
Thank you.
right.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, too. And with that, we're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, it's to talk about Smart Belize's 17th anniversary. So please stay tuned.